Actually, there's no alcohol in it. Did I tell you about it? You can actually, yeah, there's stuff in there that I was going to bring up for you. It's an actual picnic basket with leather handles, and it came with a police blanket, placemats, wine glasses, Italian red onion sauce, blankets, crackers, and cream.
Wow, that's from the liquor store.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
There's no liquor in it though.
90% of it, I'm not going to use.
This is why she's taking you, David Copperfield, because I was getting liquor.
But I've already opened it because I got the red sauce as well.
Where's the Dini Cutting Pepper on the show?
I used to spend a lot of time on the
Somebody's older than you. Not at this point. We are.
Butterballs?
Just while we're waiting to get dinner or lunch served, I'm going to introduce the head table, though I know everybody probably knows everyone that's there anyway, but just for formality. So we have at the very end, Aunt Clara, all the way from Codroy, Newfoundland, or is it Stevensville? I don't know if I've... Codroy, okay. Could you please stand up? Thank you. And next to her, we have my dear mother, Gertrude Fournier, though she's changed her name to protect the innocent, to Trudy. Would you stand up and take a bow, please? And next to Trudy is my Uncle Noel, who was the best man at Uncle Ron and Annie Fran's wedding so many years ago, 50 to be exact. Would you stand up and take a bow, please? Bride, who deserves an award anyway for having put up with Uncle Ron for all of these years. Can you stand up and take a bow? And here's the groom that she's married so long ago. And Uncle Ron, would you stand up and take a bow? Uncle Ron is his oldest son, Hector, responsible for all of this organization today, and I think they did a wonderful job. And Randy is next to Hector, also certainly did a lot of work on this event today. And Dennis, and the baby of the family, Eric. Now, just while we're waiting for the dinner to be served, or lunch to be served, I keep getting this mixed up, I just wanted to say that many years ago, when I met Annie Fran, I was a little baby girl, and my mother and father entrusted them as my babysitters when they went out somewhere. Annie Fran was wearing the most beautiful pink blouse that I've ever seen in my entire life, with a gorgeous bow at the collar, and this lovely gray skirt. I never forget anything about fashion. And as they were looking after me that day, they spent most of the day kissing. They didn't care if I jumped out the window or what happened to me. I did so many things to try to attract attention. They didn't give a damn about it. They just spent the day kissing, and here they are 50 years later still kissing. What is the secret? And maybe when it's time for them to give their speeches, they'll get up and let us know what it is. Now, we have a speech coming from Hector for his mom and dad, and we might as well get started on that while we're waiting.
I better get the glasses out, or I'll have to have my wife hold it up on the other side of the room so I can see it. Okay, here we go, as it is. Mom, Dad, guests, I would like to thank you for all coming out for this auspicious occasion today. And by the way, Mom and Dad, if you thought you had any choice about not being able to get out here today, I can think of at least 4 sons and several grandchildren that would have hogtied, dragged, and pushed you here today if it was necessary. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who was involved in planning to make this day a success, including those of you who supplied memories for the scrapbook that we have located out at the front. Mom and Dad, I would like to take this chance to express my appreciation to you for all the things you have done through the years, such as making holidays and special occasions really, really special. Also for showing me what it was like to deal with the hardships and the facts of life through examples of what it takes to pull together. Not only when times got really tough, but when they were good as well. Whether you were dancing at a party, skating in a backyard, skating rink, or in the park at a skating rink, or trying to come up with money to fix a car or game, you demonstrated that working as a team was the only way to accomplish what you set out to do. But most of all, I would like to thank you for being my parents, and in many cases being my friend, and for showing only love. And understanding no matter what I did.
Hector, thank you very much for that lovely speech, and now we'll hear from Randy.
Well, welcome out everyone, and thank you for coming out and enjoying this special occasion. Well, being number 2 in line, sure, and they still stuck it out. Even after number 2, I know that I gave them a rough time. I know that in periods of times that I've run away and done whatever I could, and let's see, there's a lot of stories a lot of people can actually say and probably know that I've done, and you know. So, but anyway, one of the greatest things about handling or being together for the 50 years is I really have no answer for it. Only they do. The secret is, it is a secret. Whatever it is between them is something that no one here, I don't think, can ever explain. We've gone through our own selves in these period of years. I've gone through relationships, fun times, turmoil, happiness, and just about everything. We've kept it together. My parents have been the best of friends, sometimes the worst of enemies. And we've up and down and all over the place. But you know something? Even all the years that I've been around, I must say, I know I gave them the roughest time. I still give them a rough time even up to yesterday. They still don't know half of what I do, thank God. I don't know what half they do, which is good. But their secret, you'll have to ask them at the end of the day. For 50 years of marriage is kind of unheard of these days. So, in appreciation to my own parents, please give them a very warm welcome. And I guess I'm going to call up Dennis. And you think I gave him a rough time?
Yes.
quickly before we have Dennis, we should actually say our grace so everybody can start to eat. I'm sure you're getting hungry. So let me see if I can go back in the Rolodex and remember my grace. Bless us, O Lord, for these thy gifts which we are about to receive from thy bounty through Christ our Lord. Amen. Thank you. Bon appetit.
Well, the only thing I can say is that I love my parents very much, and I'm glad they're both here to enjoy this day.
Another one just like that, please.
Now we'll hear from the baby of the family, Eric.
I didn't give anybody a hard time. I can make this quick, because everybody wants to eat. I didn't prepare a speech or anything. I only found out last night we were supposed to have a speech. But I remember when my dad used to come home from work, and one day he came home in a good mood one day. And I asked him, well, what happened? And he said he started a rumor in the morning, got back to him in the afternoon. He started a rumor in the morning, got back to him in the afternoon. And there was nothing that they never tried to give us, or, try to prepare us for life, and anything financially, or any of that. They always tried to help us out. They're good, they're good parents. And having you all here is testament to the type of people you are. I thank you all for being here.
Now we'll have the best man, Uncle Noel. If you'd come up and say a few words for us, please. Thank you.
Don't forget a picture of that.
It's okay, it's above your head.
Good. Most things are.
Ooh.
Okay, my name is John Fournier.
On the downside, everything you say
No.
I can hear
I
on the
first met
microphone.
Ron.
It's okay, we'll edit it out. We'll edit it all
Oh,
out.
good.
25 years. Now they've been married for 50 years. I guess this guy does everything in quarters. They're both Virgos, and today's horoscope says it can be difficult to know when something has ended, not wanting to hurt anyone's feelings. You both often fail to reach closure. This is not an easy task when you have sensitive feelings, yet fate will make the decision for you. And I'm sure that everybody here that knows Francis and Ron, that they will be making the right decisions for a long, long time to come. Thank you.
Now we're going to hear from Annie Gert. Mom, it seems strange to call you that name. She's been preparing this speech for 3 days and 3 nights. She probably hasn't laid down in her bed. She's been sitting upright, worrying herself sick about it. So watch and see the wonderful job that she does. Because she's had her speech written for her. She's like the president. Pardon? She's got what? Oh, okay, I'll go and get her.
She's usually very sweet, like artificially sweet.
Oh, yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. It's so nice to see such a wonderful turnout for Francis and Rob on this very special day. So let's raise our glasses, wish these guys a happy 50th anniversary, and hope that they will have another 50 to Francis and Ron. God bless you both.
You did a good job, and I'm gonna name one away.
Wait till after speeches if we go Do you want us to bring your soup over there for you?
No, that's okay. I'm expecting that after we do about 6 more speeches, everyone's spoken and I can sit down. I'm hoping. But thank you.
Tell you what, I'm gonna go up after.
Now we're gonna
when I
have a
go
few
up,
words
don't
from
tape
Aunt
it.
Clara.
Well, I gotta tape it.
Aunt Claire is kind of shy of the microphone, so I'm like a mouthpiece. And I'm not shy of anything. Aunt Claire wanted to say today, and to Uncle Ron, Aunt Claire is like Mama. Uncle Ron came to live with my mother and father when he was very young, and stayed with them until he left. And he was like the firstborn, and anytime we had an occasion in the family, Mom always said, now don't forget your Uncle Ron, because he's like one of the family. He's one of us. And so that's the way she feels about our Uncle Ron and Aunt Fran. And I remember years and years of them coming home to Newfoundland, Uncle Ron, Aunt Fran, and we looked forward to their visits. There was always a hustle and bustle getting ready for their visits, and always a big hustle and bustle when they were there. Added members to our family, and it was so nice having them. And he was always such a tease. He tormented all of us, each one at our turn. And he was very nice. Auntie Fran said to me when I was only 17, come back to Toronto and have a little visit. And I was going to nursing school, and I thought it was a great opportunity. And so Auntie Fran said, oh yes, you can come back with us. And then Mr. took over. It was, come to your pappy. And myself and my cousin, we were checking out the fellas on the boat coming up to Toronto. And every time he seen us get any close to anybody, he's like, come to your pappy. Big tease. But Aunt Frances would put him back in line. But we have always loved being with them a part of our family, and I know Mom feels that way as well. And we wish you very well, and we wish you health in the next years, and this is a great celebration. And I come all the ways from the territories to be here with you, because that's how I feel about you.
My friend's brother, Leo Wasinski, if he could come up, please, and give the speech.
Well, not one that making speeches. What he'll say that's 50 years. Yeah, it's hard to imagine for some of us, but it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. So I wish them all the best, and I hope they have many, many years more. Thank you.
And now we have Annie Fran's other brother, Bob Glasinski, who I don't think even after all these years I've even met.
Someone likes his cars. Yeah, Bessie's like his Smith.
Yeah, I've been hiding away.
They're really good, they're very fresh.
I just wanted to wish everybody well and congratulations on the 50th anniversary.
Andy, you want to share?
And guess that's about all. Thanks.
I've got nothing to do with Sam's family.
And now we're going to have two very, very dear friends of Annie Fran and Uncle Ron's, Al and Jan Noseworthy, to come up and give a little speech for us. Thank you.
I am a coward. I'll talk to you later.
Come on, Jack.
I would never repeat that story. Never one chance to stay quiet, just tell her
This is the first time I've actually seen Jan lost for words. However, I will.
like your father.
There is one story that Al, I should say that Jan and I both pulled off. My dad blamed her for I don't know how many years. And this was when my dad was getting on the plane for the very first time going to England. My God. There was a house that up Sawyer Avenue, all the places that they've lived are up on the screen, but up on Sawyer Avenue there was a window in the bathroom. And they're leaving in the summer. And for some ungodly reason, we just figured we'd just wake them up and get some excitement going. And I know that I have witnesses. But however, my dad was getting into the shower. And all of a sudden we heard nothing but screams. But this was after we turned on the cold water. Through the window. So, for years and years, Jan was blamed for that. And my dad couldn't believe it when I admitted that I was part of it. Some of the people that actually was wondering what was going on, because they ran out of their house, and that was, I believe, Josie Dunstan. That she came out and I guess was really wondering what was going on because of the scream, but no, that wasn't the end of it. My dad used to smoke at that time, and he took over a bunch of cigarettes at the same time, and we opened up all the cigarettes, put pinholes all through them. And boy, and being nervous, I guess he couldn't even smoke. But when he came back, we heard nothing about what Jan did. Well, sorry, it wasn't Jan. It was me that put Jan up to it. And I was the one that turned on the faucet. And hid the hose after. So, through all the stuff that we go together, like I said, I really can't understand why Jan would be lost for words.
Now we're going to call on Ernie Dunstan to come up and give a speech, please. Come on, it only hurts for a little while.
Welcome, everybody. I guess I moved on, Josephine and I moved on to Sawyer Avenue probably somewhere in the early 60s. And I don't know if anybody knows Sawyer Avenue, but we were the dead end on the street, and it was kind of like a little party room. The last three houses on the street between there still is, the Sams and the Dunstans, and there was a lot of partying going on. But one of my first recollections with Ron, particularly Ron, was when we bought the house, we decided we'd go down and paint. Josephine and I would go down and paint. So we opened the doors up and I bought a 12-pack of beer. And we're down on the evenings and I'm proceeding to paint, and Josephine's helping me paint. And having the one beer. And all of a sudden there's a knock on the door. Go to the door and there's this big guy there. Hi, I'm your neighbor, Ron. What's your name? So I said, well, come in and we introduce ourselves. You want a beer? Well, sure enough, yeah. Ron would have a beer. Sure enough, you want another beer? Yeah. We'll have another beer. So I think that night I had 2 beers, did a little bit of painting. I think Ron had 10 beers, and introduced himself, and that's how I got to know, or we got to know Ron. So anyway, that's my first recollection of Ron Francis. Welcome, everybody.
Now we're looking for more speech givers. We want to make this kind of a roast where we tell funny stories that have happened along the way. So now we'll have John Driscoll. He's going to relay a funny story that's happened with him in the past with Uncle Ron, and I don't think any of us can say that we don't have any funny stories to tell about things that have happened with us with Uncle Ron. Now we can't really give any funny stories about Annie Fram, because Annie Fram was always a sensible, stable person that kept him in line, glued to the floor and behaving himself. So, here we go.
What can I tell you? This has been sprung on me at the last minute. I have to think fast. I think probably one of the, this is probably funny, you guys probably get a charge out of it, especially if there's a few people around here from Newfie. Uncle Ron came over one time when I was living on Ravensthorpe, and we were doing the rec room downstairs. And my father-in-law, Rainey, who is no longer with us, was doing the work down there. So we needed a plumber. So who comes to mind? Uncle Ron. So Uncle Ron comes over and he did the plumbing, and he did a great job. The only thing is when we went downstairs to turn on the water, the hot water was on the right side, and the cold water was on the left side. So we lived with that for quite a few years, but I guess that's the funniest thing. Wow, that was really funny or not, but I thought it was funny. And the same with the toilet, everything was in reverse. So I said to Dad, does this happen normally? He says, what can I tell you? Ron is a Newfie. Anyway, congratulations, Ron and Francis, and happy 50th, and God damn it, we hope you have at least another 50. Thank you.
Now, do we have any other volunteers, or do I have to dig down in my repertoire of stories of Uncle Ron and furnish you with something? Okay, Uncle Ron came over to visit us when we had our home at 23 Little Avenue. And he was telling us this story, and we knew it was a blatant lie. And he said, you know, because Uncle Ron is a bald-faced liar, we all know it, we love him in spite of it, but he actually sat there and he said, honest to God, John Boy, as true as I'm sitting here on this chair, may this chair fall out from under me. And with that, it was a basket chair, he fell right on the floor. And we couldn't stop laughing. I said, you see, God's getting you for lying. You've got to start telling the truth every once in a while. So that was, there's been many more too. I don't know, my mother won't even let me mention half of them, but anyway. Does anybody else have anything that they'd like to say? Oh, I forgot, Doreen Gale. She's my next victim to come up here. She's going to deliver a lovely speech about a story that an experience that she's had with Uncle Ron. Oh, come on.
She yabbered all night. I don't know what the stage fright is about now. Well, I always remember Uncle Ron at home before I ever left home. And I always thought he was my brother. I didn't know that he was that much older. But I remember one time he's supposed to babysit. And he sent us all berry picking so that he could have his girlfriend in. And then when this happened, we took Alice with us, and she was about 3. So Shirley and I got tired of her, and she got tired, so we let her sit down and left her by a brook. Went on berry picking and come back without her. Well, I'll tell you, we were just about scared to death then, but he found her before she went to the brook. But Fran and Ron, there's nobody that could be any better to anybody than me. I came here when I was 18, and I went to live with them, and we were all struggling. They had people that lived upstairs, and people that lived, but they gave me a place to sleep too. And Frances can have babies quicker than anybody I know. She wakes me up one morning, because she used to wake me up to go to work. And she says, I said, where are you going? She was all dressed. It was colder than the devil. It had to be Randy. Troublemaker. Because there was 2 before them. And she says, I'm having contractions. I got to go to the hospital. Fine. She said, here's the clock so you can get up. Before I got up, the phone rang again. It was Aunt Fran. I said, where are you? Forgot she had gone to the hospital. And she said, we had another boy. Very, very disappointed. That's true, absolutely. So that's you, Randy. Sorry. And Randy was a troublemaker, yes, true. Even though he's the quietest one now. He came to my door one day. He's 4 years old. We walked, well, it must have been 5 miles. And wet and soaking. But he was always in trouble, that one. Dennis was after me, so he was not around. But I came to Toronto with Ron and 3 other guys in the car. That was fun. And I tell you, when I got to Toronto, and that's where I went to Uncle Ron's. I felt like a little girl then. I was 18. But ever since I've been here, there's been a shoulder or anything went wrong. They usually phone me to see what the gossip is, but I kept this very quiet. And I thought, well, there's no way that they're going to know about this through me, because I know I'd get blamed if it came out.
Anyway, I wish them all the luck, and everybody that came here knows that they all love them too, so. Thanks, everybody.
Is that my sister's? Oh, you're in trouble, buddy.
You work it.
Okay, now we're gonna have the daughter-in-law say something. Annette and my wife Joanne.
He's giving me a go.
Together, so we don't have to do it separate. 1, 2, 3. Oh no, you were first. After you.
This could be a long afternoon.
Just say something nice. Come on.
Say something nice. They tell me I'm supposed to say something nice about my mother-in-law. This could take a while, okay? I must say that for 29 years I've been made to feel as much a daughter as a daughter-in-law in this family. I thank you all for coming here, and I'm really hoping I have another 29 years of being a daughter. Thank you.
I'd have to say I agree with Annette 100%. Mom and Dad have always done their best to make both of us feel like we were daughters, not anything separate or outside of the family. For 20 years, a few years less, but for 20 years, I've been a part of the Sams family and wouldn't do anything to change it. I want to congratulate Mom and Dad on 50 and take their example and hope that I make it to 50. And hopefully I can pull Mom off to the side later and get the real scoop on how she put up with Dad for 50. Congratulations, Mom and Dad, and have a wonderful day, and thank you all for coming to help us celebrate.
Grandchildren are next. That was very very well. Grandchildren are next.
Now we're going to start going into the grandchildren. So our first grandchild that we'd like to call up is Cassandra to say a few words about her grandparents, please. Thank you.
Hello, it's nice to see everyone here. Many people I've never met before in my life. My sister and I have both been very candid with all of them. We don't know who you are. I'd like to say it's wonderful to see my grandparents here together. I have had many opportunities to have wonderful experiences with both of them. And I think I'm going to tell a story about my grandmother because she seems to be sadly neglected in all of this storytelling. And it's actually kind of a cute one. When I was about 12 or 13 years old, my grandparents took me to Newfoundland for the first time. It was quite a culture shock for me. It was a really good experience. My very first road trip. And she taught me how to play cribbage in the backseat of a giant purple van. But my grandmother is the only one who will adhere to a concept of a penny a point with a 12-year-old girl. So when she said this, I'm like, ooh, money-making opportunity, because I'm a Sam's. And so all the way to Newfoundland, she took me right to the hoops for a penny a point. Now, she also gave me all that money back when we got back to Newfoundland. I'd like to think I beat her on the way going home, but it was a great bonding experience with my grandmother, and all the way, all through Codroy Valley and Stevensville, through floral pantsuits, weddings, and all sorts of fun. My grandmother made me an expert at the game of cribbage. So thank you, Granny. Although, a funny note about my grandfather, we also had the opportunity to tape him while he was drinking one night. And if any of you have ever heard my grandfather when he was drinking, and the next morning, we put the tape in front of him, and to our face, he said, "That's not me. I don't drink." So Granny and I had the opportunity to share that experience too, because obviously it was him. So I'd like to thank you both for being my grandparents and for giving me 28 great years of having a wonderful example of what a married couple should look like. Thank you.
Now Cassandra's, of course, as you all know, Hector and Annette's daughter, and now we're going to call on Randy's daughter Cheryl to come up and say a few words, please.
Well, it's nice to be here and finally meet most of my family and, well, maybe everybody. And happy anniversary. I remember some Christmases when I was small at my grandparents' house and having the family there. That was really enjoyable, and I hope I can have many more Christmases with the family. And I'm glad I could make it down here for this special occasion. And when I get married, I hope I know the secret too, so I can last as long as you both have lasted. Thanks.
And now we're going to call on Amanda. She's the second oldest of Hector and Annette's daughters.
I think my sister basically covered most of everything I thought about saying. She's always beaten me to everything in life, so I just wanted to say that congratulations, and it is absolutely wonderful to see two people who can love each other through that many years in life and stick together. Not good on the spot, especially in front of a whole lot of people who know me all too well, so, and a whole lot of people I've just met. So congratulations, and have a good day.
Now we're going to call on Adam, who is Eric's son, to come up and say a few words about his grandparents.
Lots of people I don't know here too. Hello everybody that I've not met for the first time. Happy anniversary, Grandma and Granddad. 50 years, wow. It's a long time. That's twice my age in almost 10 years.
Now we're going to call on little Ron to give a speech for his grandparents, please. He's not so little anymore.
Well, I know all of you pretty much have met me when I was younger, and I know some of you, but not all of you. Happy 50th anniversary, Grandma and Granddad. I remember going up to their old house in North Bay. I used to go fishing with my grandfather. And my grandmother she usually taught my sister how to bake because we're the same age, obviously we're twins. So I was usually spending most of the time with my grandfather, and my sister was spending most of the time with my grandmother. And he taught me how to fish. We used to go out where he used to grow vegetables and stuff like that. So I'm a bit nervous. So happy 50th.
Ron's twin sister is Angeline, and she's called Angel, and we'd like her to come up and say a few words about her grandparents.
Correction, it's Angelina, but it's okay. Really, it's okay. Yeah, I'm pretty nervous too, but you know, there's so many things I'd love to say, but I was reading something that I shouldn't have, and apparently I only have up to 3 minutes. So, it's 3 minutes. My grandmother and my grandfather. Yeah, Thunder Bay, good memories, really good memories. Christmas was awesome. I remember waking up, me and my 3 brothers, with gifts as big as the stage. They're really awesome people. They're the only grandparents that I have. And they've done their job.
Now we're going to hear from Jonathan. Nobody is spared today. We're getting them all, one by one.
I'm not much with speeches, so I'm just gonna say happy anniversary, Grandma and Granddad. I don't know.
Having some.
It's a good thing.
Don't make that camera sway either. I didn't even pour it yet. You said stop. Great. I thought you were kidding. That's fine.
Strawberry, apple, it'll get taste. All right.
Snapple. Snapple wine. Just ferment a bottle of Snapple in the sun for a couple hours.
We'd like to know if we could have Mel come up to say a few words about Annie, Fran, and Uncle Ron, please.
First of all, I would like to congratulate Uncle Ron and Aunt Fran on their 50th anniversary. I met Ron and Francis 37 years ago, and they took me in from Newfoundland, as well as taking me in Doreen. Gary, my husband and I, our wedding was held at Uncle Ron's and Aunt Frank's, and that's 37 years ago. And they were very, very, very good to us. And of course, in return, I always wanted to be good to Ron and Francis. When Ron and Francis would go to work, I would like to do some things for them. So this particular day, I decided I would pack Ron's lunch, and I'd make some tea buns for him. So when Ron came from work, I said, Ron, I did you a favor today. I made some tea buns for your lunch. Ron looked at the buns. The first thing he said to me was, good for you, Bill. I haven't even looked in for a fellow at work tomorrow. So, apparently the buns weren't very good. But anyway, I do love them both. And I wish them all the luck in the world. Thank you.
If he dumps the tray on your lap.
We'd like to call on Rainey Sams to come up and say a few words, please.
Never seen you at a loss for words. You need somebody to hold your hand in?
Okay, then we'll call Doreen Miller to the rescue. Now, my sister is a tax auditor for Revenue Canada. She ought to be able to speak, right? First of all, I'd like to thank the four boys for putting together an amazing event here today. And congratulations once again to Uncle Ron and Annie Fran. I'd like to share a memory of Uncle Ron being called upon by my father to assist with the plumbing on a particular Saturday when I was a child. Of course, the water was turned off, and my mother as a bartender is really a wonderful mother. She poured the drinks for the boys, thought they needed refreshment. There was no mix. They had straight rye. The following morning, when we went to the kitchen sink, the cold water was hot, the hot water was cold, and there was a particular rumble in the pipes. This persisted for many years in our kitchen, but Uncle Ron did come to the rescue. A memory I have of Annie Fran was going out there as a young girl to stay with my 4 boy cousins, so I was an anomaly being a girl among 4 boys, and Annie Fran decided to curl my hair. She tied it up in many, many rags, and I had the most beautiful head of curls of anyone that anyone could ever imagine. And I'd like to thank Annie Fran for doing my hair that day and making me want curly hair for the rest of my whole life. Priscilla, would you come up and say a few words? She can't do it? Okay, let me see who else I got. I'm running out of volunteers. Oh, Rhonda, that would be good. Sure. Rhonda, would you come up and say a few words about Uncle Ron for us? You're a teacher, you should be able to talk. Well, they wanted me to call on Frank Sams. It's a dirty job, but we've all got to do it. Okay, here's, just while you're sort of gaining some kind of confidence, I'll just tell you one other quick story about Uncle Ron and my dad. One day they decided that they were going to they went to Gare Drive to rent the house that my parents ultimately bought. And when they went there, the man that owned the house was so impressed with them because when they got there, they both took off their shoes. And he decided that these guys would be the guys that he would rent to. He felt that he was full of confidence. They were totally respectful. And the other night, my mother was telling me this story, and she laughed so hard the tears were rolling down her cheeks. So they got in there, and Uncle Ron decided that he would cut the back grass, but being from the farm and everything, he did it with a scythe, and I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but he cut all the grass that way. And then when it came to putting a fire in the furnace, what he did is he was downstairs painting some chairs. So he decided, as he was painting, that he would throw the cardboard into the furnace to save on coal, except the cardboard was all covered with paint. Well, you can imagine the smoke that poured out of the chimney. So pretty soon the fire department showed up because the old biddy across the yard called because there was smoke was escaping from the chimney. When they came to the door, Annie Fran opened the door and she goes, "Yeah, what do you want?" And they said, "You got smoke coming out of your chimney." And she said, "Well, what do you expect? There's a fire in the furnace." So then they said, "Well, you're not supposed to have that much smoke sitting up in your furnace." And she wasn't in a good mood that day. She said, "Well, how about if I go up and sit on the chimney then?" And they said, "No, we just want to see what's causing all this smoke." So they went downstairs to the furnace, and there was Uncle Ron, and he's, you know, painting away at these chairs, and they're like both young couples, sort of starting out, my mom and dad, Nanny Fran and Uncle Ron. And they said, well, what's your name? And he goes, who wants to know? And they said, well, we do. Do you live here? And they, yeah, I live here. Well, what did you put in that furnace? He goes, oh, just a bit of cardboard and hardwood. They said, well, you know what? You've got so much smoke coming out of your furnace now that it's against the law what you're doing, and we could give you a fine. And he goes, well, can a guy have a fire in his furnace to heat up his house? No, you cannot put your furnace on that long, but you seem to be nice guys, so we're going to let you away with this for now, but please never do this again. So, he's been full of fire from the beginning of his life, and it hasn't stopped. Now, Frank Sams.
No.
Good day, everyone. It was a pleasure being able to make it here today to see such a wonderful couple celebrate their 50th anniversary. I don't know what to say. I don't know if it's true, but the first when Ron come down Terry or not, he used to stutter really bad. He couldn't hardly get a word out. Nobody wanted to hire him. So this day he sees the ad in the paper, he goes in and says, I seen an ad in the paper, he says, I want to know if I can get the job. The guy says, well, he says, you got quite a speech impediment there. He says, I don't know if I can hire you. He says, door-to-door sales. Ron says, well, you can't really hold that against me, can you? And he stood up, you know, put it in his chest and that, and the guy says, well, I guess not. I guess not. He says, well, Ron says, well, what's the job? He says, well, he says, door-to-door sales. He says, you know, you have to go up, knock on the door, and he says, we're selling Bibles. Well, he says, well, I gotta give it a try. So anyway, he said, well, he said, usually we'll give a guy 10 Bibles to go out and come back in a couple of weeks and get 10 more. So he says, I'll tell you what, he says, I'll give you 2. He says, just to see how you'll do. Ron says, you got to treat me as the same. So the guy says, okay, you're too big to argue with, here's 10 Bibles. So that afternoon, Ron goes back to the office. He says, I guess you're kind of giving up, are you? Ron says, no, sir. He says, I want 10 more Bibles. He says, 10 more Bibles, he says. My best salesman don't sell them in 2 or 3 weeks. He says, you're doing it one day? So he wasn't about to argue. Ron took out 10 more Bibles. Next morning, he goes back to the shop. There's Ron sitting on the front step waiting. He says, well, he says, what do you do? Ron says, I want 10 more Bibles. He says, well, he says, you got to tell me how you're doing it first. He says, I got all your receipts. I know you're selling them. He says, but you got to tell me how you're doing it. Ron says, I do this the same as the rest. He says, I go up and knock on the door, and he says, do you want to buy a Bible, or do you want me to read it to you? Congratulations, Ron and Fran. I hope you celebrate many more. Thank you.
Where's the
Aunt Fran. Aunt Fran.
Uncle Ron. Oh, I thought you were gonna come up.
Okay, I think we're going to call on the bride from 50 years ago to come up and give a speech, please. Annie Fran. Do you want to both come up at the same time? Or?
No, I'll do it from here.
Okay.
Everybody's saying, what's the secret for 50 years? What's the secret? All you women here know you don't give away any secret recipes. So I appreciate this all coming, taking the time, and this is a total shock. It may not, some say, well, you did look surprised. I get a delayed reaction. I'll feel it tonight when everything is all over with. So I appreciate Wanda coming from Northwest Territories and Mel from Newfoundland and Clare. And anybody came quite a distance. I think that is just wonderful, and that's the best thing that could ever happen.
Okay, I'm going to subject you to one more of my stories that my mother's given me. Uncle Bill came to Toronto, and I'm doing this for all my cousins from Newfoundland. He came to Toronto for a visit, and Annie Dell felt obliged to come up from Montreal to see him, so she brought him a beautiful watch. Now, having all of the kids that he had and everything, this was like a wonderful thing for him to have this watch. And Uncle Ron did not let this go unnoticed. He asked him every 10 minutes what time it was until he nearly drove him crazy. So finally he said, if you ask me the time one more time, I'm going to knock your block off. So anyway, they got over that as two brothers, and they went on a trip downtown. So my mother was there, Uncle Bill was there, and Uncle Ron was there. And as they would get into the subway, probably a lot of you have heard this story a million times. My mother said, make sure that, Bill, you jump in because they shut the doors right away and you'll get caught in the doors when you're going on the subway. So as the subway would stop, and he leaped in because he was doing exactly what he was supposed to do, and he sort of flew over a whole group of people, and my mother and Uncle Ron couldn't stop laughing about this. So they went on that day, and he noticed a yellow cab at the beginning of the day, and then towards the end of the day, he said to Uncle Ron, that guy never stops working. I saw him this morning, and now he's way over here on the other side of town, and he's still at it. He must be making millions of dollars or something. So they all had a great laugh about that and bugged the living hell out of him, and they had a great day that day, the three of them, and it's something that they'd always remember too. So anyway, thank you for coming. We appreciate it, and have a great afternoon. That's the end of the speeches. We're not going to torture anybody anymore. Okay? Thanks so much. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we should have a nice round of applause for our MC this afternoon. Let's hear it for Deanna Driscoll.